right. Who are some of the best samplers in rap history? This is a great question. I really feel like, I think we talked about this. I know I may have talked about it on Twitter. I don't know if I talked about it on here, which is people not understanding. Like, not everybody's good at sampling. Like, people think that just anybody can take a sample, chop it up, you know, and just have it. Everybody thinks they can. It's really, 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 really not that easy. It's just not, right? Like, I think you could say that the three best samplers of all time are probably the boy Dilla, because Dilla does mean sample. I give him that. Dilla's a mean sampler. And then Kanye and Dr. Dre. And I think we forget about Dr. Dre, because Dr. Dre had a pretty damn special gift for sampling things that you've never thought about. Like, Dr. Dre got a whole lot of things he sampled that you can't find on Spotify to save your life. Right? Like, they're ill. If you don't want to put Dre on there, that's fine. But I think Kanye is, like, unquestionably way up there. Just Blaze is absolutely incredible. Because, see, to me, the gift in sampling is the ability to capture an emotion in a small snippet of this larger thing, right? So a song can be whatever it is. But the idea that you can take a small part of that song and basically make a reinterpretation of that record from the emotion at one place or to doctor that one part to give it an entirely different meaning, like, that is amazing to me. Like Kanye, for example, the idea that you could take Distant Lover and turn that into Spaceship, right? On one hand, you are capturing the same emotion because you're capturing the longing of it. The fascinating part of that for Kanye was the ability to put a song over that was about longing and absolutely had nothing to do with love, right? Nothing to do with love, but capture that same emotional longing. His thing of longing to do better than working at the Gap. Like, that's a brilliant, that's a gift. It's not that easy to do. Like, so for that, I guess that's more of a smaller deviation than anything else. But you go around and you look at the things that people have managed to do. Like, you look at those samples that the Bomb Squad, I feel like the Bomb Squad on sampling, in fact, that's got to be number one. Because the Bomb Squad on sampling is like just a completely different game. You can't sample like the Bomb Squad did anymore because the laws changed. Just like Digital Underground couldn't keep it going because you couldn't sample the way that they did. You could make an argument that the Beastie Boys' Paul Boutique is similar in what I consider like a mosaic style of sampling. So for the Bomb Squad, all those sounds are different samples. All those sounds are coming from some different place, and you just put together this almost like sonic bouillabaisse of sorts, right? I know your bouillabaisse I'm talking about the Beastie Boys, of course, seems trite, but you understand what I'm saying. That you put all this stuff together, and the fact that you can get so many different interpretations from so many different things and turn it solidly into one thing is an amazing gift, and you have to have a real finger on the pulse of the resonance and emotion of the music that you're working with to make that sort of thing go. That was a big part of what the Dust Brothers were able to pull off. With Digital Underground, it was so interesting because they just took that entire Parliament Funkadelic catalog and just turned it upside down. I mean, just turned it completely upside down. Just using each song almost as an instrument, which is absolutely and like totally amazing. The idea that you would be able to pull that off. Then there's some people like Pimp C. Well, Pimp C had a gift for figuring songs that could just be replayed and made into really good rap, but it wasn't necessarily that the samples were always that insightful. UGK stuff is also not that sample heavy. Just like Organized Noise is not hitting you really with that many samples. What I like about Just Blaze and the course of his samples is Just Blaze at this point, I think might be the single most underrated producer going, because we get him mixed up with Kanye, and I think that we give Kanye a lot of Just Blaze's credit for what happened on the Blueprint. Like, we talk about Kanye and his contribution on the Blueprint, but Just Blaze on the Blueprint did Girls, Girls, Girls. He did Song Cry, and I'm forgetting he did You Don't Know. Also, baked correctly, gets 0 mention. But we forget about this with Just Blaze. Just Blaze might be the best beat maker going. Like, I always said that Dr. Dre was a better producer than DJ Quick, but DJ Quick probably made better beats. I'm not sure who makes better beats than Just Blaze does. Just straight ahead making a beat. Ooh, my goodness, my goodness, my goodness, my goodness. He can just bring the aggression out of just about any sample he chooses to take, but then he can also go and smooth your shit out. Like, Girls, Girls, Girls does not sound like a Just Blaze track. Like, that should give you an indicator of the brilliance of Just Blaze. Juicy J, by the way, for whoever mentioned him, is also an amazing sampler. Primo is a great sampler. The RZA, I think the RZA is really good at picking interesting samples, but I'm also not that wild about the RZA. Like, the RZA just doesn't do it for me like it does it for other people, because the stuff that he's most famous for is when it sounded like he didn't even know how to use his own fucking equipment. You know, like, that's always been my RZA thing. I mean, and he's done some great work and he's done some great sampling, but I'm just not as wild about the RZA as other people had. I thought the larger aesthetic of the Wu and all the kung fu stuff and all the stuff they put together, I dug that. Ninth Wonder's up there, certainly. I mean, that's my folks at this point, so, you know, but he's certainly up there. There's so many people that you can name, but there's a real particular gift that finding that small part and making a whole track out of it. It's just not easy. And all the people that want to reduce rap don't get that. Like, the 45 King is a really, really, really good sampler. Pete Rock, obviously, is a really, really, really good sampler. But I think that there's kind of two places that you can go in the direction of people on how good they are at sampling. Like I said, the people like Dr. Dre and Pete Rock, all these other guys, who are able to find the most obscure samples and then go from there. Like Primo, like you listen to Kick in the Door, and then go back and listen to that, what's his name? Screaming Jay Hawkins, I Put a Spell on You. I mean, it's a pretty straight sample. And that's not the most obscure song in the world, but the gift in that is hearing a hardcore rap record in that bump, 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 bump. That's not the one. You know what I mean? I just gave you the Godzilla track. But he gave it to you. Be Nuts, also nice. I think there's also a particular gift for the people who can take a sample that you recognize and still flip it on. Like, that was the Kanye brilliant. Kanye was taking samples that you knew and still making you flip on them, right? Because normally you kind of get a demerit from the fact that you're taking a sample that somebody knows, right? Like, it's just so recognizable. The idea that you're going to sample Slow Jams by Luther Vandross, except you flipped it so hard. I said Slow Jams. House Not a Hole. You know what I mean? Sorry, we're getting toward the end, and Mondays are my long